Hey there, YouTube. Ghost Jake here with you tonight. How was your day? How was your guys' day today? Mine was all right. I just got done watching Bates Motel Season 5, Episode 2. So, we're going to get started on the review in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Now, before I start on this review, this one I just fully watched because I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch it like I do with the other ones, but I didn't, stop watching it to take notes or anything. I just watched it, and I'm just doing a review based on what happened, what I can remember from watching it, like fresh. Okay, now let's get started. Now, this will contain some spoilers for Bates Motel season, for season 5, in case you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2. Now we're starting. Now, this episode pretty much takes place immediately where episode 2 left off, where Norman knocked out Caleb, his uncle, or rather the hallucination of Norma knocked him out, right, and then tied him up and handcuffed him to like a pipe in their basement. And it was really because as soon as when Caleb woke up in the episode, when he was coming to, he saw like a hallucination of, not a real hallucination, he saw kind of like a hallucination on his end of like seeing Norma, but he didn't actually see Norma. He was seeing Norman in like a wig that kind of resembled his mother's hair. And they were talking, right? And then he ends up going staying handcuffed downstairs and then going upstairs. And by the way, Chick is still in the apartment. He's still there, right? He's still in Norman's house. He is like, Chick is talking to Norman's hallucination of, or Norman's, should I say, identity, when he blacks out and when Norma takes over. He was talking to him, like, it's like, since I know you're alive now, I can, like, help you. I can help you with, I could help you with Norman, like when he blacks out and whatnot. Like, and he asks the hallucinations, like, do you mind if I stay here a couple of days? And she's like, no, I don't mind at all. It's like, and he's like, good night. And then the hallucination of Norman goes upstairs and goes to bed, right? And then, like, the next morning, we have this, we see Caleb, we have this hallucination, not hallucination, a flashback, more of a flashback of when I believe this happened pretty fast in the episode. A flashback when him and Norma were children, and it sounded like his mother and his dad were fighting about something, and they were hiding in like a bedroom, right? Now we get to good old Alex Romero. He is with the inmate security guards on their way back from the hospital, because in season 5, episode 2, he got beat up and he had to go to the hospital. So they're on their way back. Not a lot's really happening in that front. And then we see the inmates stop for coffee at a coffee shop because one of them wants coffee, and then Romero's like, hey, how about like a bathroom break? And then him and the other guy go to the bathroom, and after Romero's done going to the bathroom, he pretty much attacks the security guard, uncuffs himself and takes the keys, and has the security guard attacks him up because he's escaping, because he is going. And then he walks out of the bathroom, and he pretty much takes this guy's car. Not like that, but he kind of holds him hostage and has him ask him for a ride, and takes his car. And there we go. Now we are back to, and then they are off because where Romero is going. He's going to White Pine Bay to take revenge on Norman. Now we are back to now we are back to the hotel where we see Norman. He is talking to one of the he's in bed because he's blacked out, and Chick brings him some like breakfast, and then they go down. They go downstairs, and Chick, later on that evening, Chick makes some dinner, and he has a digital voice recorder. He's recording, then saying conversations between Norman and Norma. Oh, I did forget one quick detail. I just now remembered it. There's an instance where Chick goes down to the basement and visits Caleb, and they're talking about his relationship with Norma, because like Chick wants to know more about Norm wants to know more about Norma. Anyway, now that I remember that, that's taken care of, let's go back. Like I said, Chick made dinner for Norman and himself, and and Norma, and he's recording their conversations with the digital voice recorder because he is trying to you know, keep everything tabbed, right? And there's another instance where Caleb, not Caleb, yeah, well, Caleb and the hallucinate Caleb, and there's an instance where, okay, now I remember. There's an instance where Chick is talking to Norman alone. I think this might have been before the dinner or a little bit afterwards. But he's talking to Norman, and Caleb is throwing, trying to get free, throwing a tantrum down in there, right? And yelling for Norman, and then he's like, "Oh," and Chick says, "Oh, your uncle came. He's been down in the basement for 2 days." It's like, "I think he wants to kill you." And then Norman goes down, and he's keeping, and then right before he goes down, Norma takes over, and Norma is talking to Caleb, and we see Caleb actually saying Norma instead of we see Caleb actually saying Norma when they're talking instead of saying Norman. Right? So Caleb must be a little bit out of it too. Not like insane, but he's been in the basement for 2 days with hardly anything to eat and drink. So he's probably going to start hallucination for too terribly long. And then Chick also recorded this because into his digital voice recorder he found Norman holding hands with his uncle, but Norman wasn't there. Norma was, and then after that, I forgot the order of this, but Madeline ends up showing up, and she ends up talking to Norman, brings him cookies, and Chick takes a cookie, obviously. And she talks to Norman about the date she set him up with. And it's like, oh, it was a terrible idea. And she eventually goes on to admit that she just wanted to not be alone because her husband's Sam or Dave, whatever you want to call him, Sam or Dave, starts talking about how he is never there, and she's just lonely and wanted to spend some time with someone and just have a friend. And then Norman suggests that we could just go take a walk in the woods, and then they go take a walk in the woods, and then Madeline ends up leaving. Right, and then we get to a point where we see Romero. After he stole that guy's car, the guy just walks off, and then he drives the car until the car gets a flat tire, and then he ditches the car, and then he goes and finds another car, and he ends up finding the car. He's about to steal it, then he gets interrupted, then Romero gets interrupted by a kid, probably about, I'm not good with ages, probably about between 13 and 15 at the max is my guess, maybe a little younger than that. And then while Romero's getting out of the car, the kid shoots him in the stomach with a shotgun, so it probably doesn't look good for Romero. But who are we kidding? One of the main cast members, one of the main he's probably going to be fine. Now we get back to the house, to the motel and the house. No, but before that, we see Chick walking down the road, listening to the voice recorder, and he goes in to buy a typewriter so he can re-record. Not record, document his findings more thoroughly, right? And then we go back to the motel, and Norma's like, I don't think I can. Tells Norman, it's like, I don't think I can do it. You need to kill Caleb. Just shoot him in the head, quick and easy. That's all it would take, right? And then Norman goes down. Norman, not like possessed. Norman. Regular Norman goes down with a pistol because he's going to shoot his uncle. And then he's just like, I just want to be, Norman just kind of breaks and it's like, I just want to be left alone. Right? And then he unties his uncle. But he had the gun, but Norman actually did have the gun to his uncle's head. And he unties him, and his uncle, then he shoots a couple of rounds off in the basement, and while his uncle's running away. And then then Norma comes into the picture, grabs the pistol, but it's actually Norman still shooting, but it's Norma doing it. shooting the gun at Caleb. And then all of a sudden we see a car coming down the road while Caleb is running away. Right? While Caleb is running away. And we see Chick's phone light up because he receives a text. Right? And it's a text Norman sent him about to go get milk because they sent that text to distract Chick so they could kill Caleb. That's the only reason they sent that text earlier. They get that he gets that text. He doesn't see Caleb. And then all of a sudden, Caleb runs into the middle of the road while Chick's not looking, trying to flag down the car because he just thinks it's a random car. And then all of a sudden he gets hit by the car. And that's when the episode ends. You don't know if Caleb's alive or if he's dead. It just ends after he gets hit by the car. Well, this is Ghost Jake. Have a good night. Signing off. See you next week for episode 4 of Bates Motel Season 5. Goodbye.